Hey kiddies, Killer Clowns Month continues with Killer Circuses. That's right, we are halfway through October and Killer Clowns Month. And so this week we're going to look at 3 movies which feature circuses that go on something of a rampage and terrorize and or murder people, for reasons. Our menu is going to include Freaks, Something Wicked This Way Comes, and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Todd Browning's Freaks. I should warn you, if you are made uncomfortable by people that were born a little bit special, you should probably skip ahead a few minutes. Otherwise, hey, this movie essentially ended Todd Browning's career. And I know he's not a name that you really think about nowadays, but you have to consider, prior to Freaks, he directed Dracula, which became like the most popular horror movie of its time. After Dracula, Todd Browning could make any movie that he wanted, and he wanted to make Freaks. He helped develop the story and get all the people involved in the movie, because Todd Browning came from a circus carnival background. He knew a lot of these people just in general, and so he wanted to give them, help bring them into the big time, which is what the movie was supposed to do. When it came out to just negative upon negative upon negative reviews, one of the things that a lot of reviewers commented on was they thought the film was exploitative, but in Todd Browning's eyes, the film was anything but. That's reflected in the movie, because if you really sit and watch it, the titular freaks are the good guys. They are not bad people at all. Number one, they're presented as people. They are in show business. They have a unique attraction and or act, and that is what they're selling, just like anybody else in a circus or in a play or whatever. They are just people living out their lives under, different sets of circumstances. And that's how we find our main character, Hans. He is a little person who has come into quite a fortune. Now, Hans, up until this point, has been engaged to another little person, Frida, but the trapeze artist Cleopatra sets her eyes on him to get all the money. Cleopatra is hooking up with the circus strongman Hercules. And so Cleopatra puts on an act as if that she is genuinely in love with Hans and convinces her to marry him. And to their credit, all of Hans's people in the circus decide to accept her. There's the famous one of us Gooba Gaba scene where they all welcome Cleopatra into their circle. She is the different one, and so they are trying to be nice to her. And it's at that point where she sort of loses it and can't maintain the act of genuine affection for Hans and confesses to basically be poisoning him to get the money, kind of successfully. And so, being a solid group of people, they plan unholy revenge on Cleopatra and Hercules for Hans. They perform it. They turn Cleopatra into a duck woman. They mutilate Cleopatra so that she's no longer a trapeze artist, but she's now a duck woman. And Hercules is sort of let off and presumed murdered. The movie had to be cut down a lot before anybody would even consider showing it, and I believe one of the things that got cut is that Hercules is taken off and castrated, and in the original ending is later seen singing falsetto, and that was what happened to him. There's happy endings for all of the nice sideshow acts, and that's basically the movie. It's hard to talk about Freaks without getting into too many details, and basically I'm worried I'm going to say something very, very offensive to people that shouldn't have anything offensive said about them, because they're all very nice. So we're going to leave it at that. But the crucial thing to take away from this is Todd Browning, one, did not intend for this to exploit any of the actors in the film. He wanted to give them greater fame, and two, it's such a great message of, what is on the outside is not indicative of who you are on the inside. You should judge people based on who they are, what they do, not what they look like. You can see a lot of Tales from the Crypt stories and episodes taking a lot of cues from those types, from that message later in the 50s and 60s. We'll be going in increasing order of supernaturalness of the circus. So we started with freaks because they're completely normal human beings. We continue with the adaptation of Ray Bradbury's "Something Wicked This Way Comes" with Darks, Pandemonium, and Circus. The circus has popped up overnight in Greentown, the home of Will Holloway and Jim Nightshade, and they start getting a sneaking suspicion that there's something more going on with the circus, and indeed they are, because Dark, played by Jonathan Pryce, the illustrated man, is luring the townspeople into different rides and attractions, and giving them their hopes, their fondest desire at the curse or at the cost of their souls or their lives. So, a man who suffered amputation not only gets his limbs back, but he gets brought back to his youth. The old spinstery teacher becomes her younger, prettier self at the cost of her eyesight. A guy that loves women becomes a bearded lady, and a cigar store owner gets turned into a Native American caricature. So it's a little weird. Bill is trying to get to save his dad from getting sucked into it, and as a result, they get in Jonathan Pryce's sights, and the majority of the movie is them trying to escape it. It's fun. In all three of these movies, we see all of the circuses doing circus things, and so Dark's fair is a fully functional fair. It's not just like a weird little creepy thing. And in addition, all three movies all feature variations on the parade. Circuses usually have a parade in town to let everybody know they're there and that there's all this stuff to see. Dark is using the parade to hunt down the two little boys, and in Freaks, the parade was more hunting down Hercules and Cleopatra, and was one of the more disturbing scenes in the movie. We don't know exactly what Dark and his circus people are. I believe Jason Robards' character refers to them as autumn people at some point, but they never really define what that is. They seem to be involved in witchcraft and stuff, especially Pam Grier looking just choice. Jonathan Pryce is really, really good in it. In particular, the scene where he's offering up years to Jason Robards and then mercilessly taking them away when he's not giving him what he wants. I remember seeing this movie when I was very small and not remembering too much of it. I remember the carousel that makes people younger and older, and that was creepy, and then like the whole bit with the spiders. Did not really remember Royal Dano being in this movie. Royal Dano plays a lightning rod salesman that appears before the circus comes in, and he sort of knows what's going on, but sort of doesn't. He gets, in trouble with everything. But, it's not a bad movie. It's a good little Disney spooky movie, and not having read a lot of Ray Bradbury outside of stuff, his more interplanetary type of stuff, it was interesting watching this movie because you can see a lot of Stephen King shtick in this movie. So I imagine him being a big Ray Bradbury fan back in the day, but we'll get more into Stephen King next week. This triple feature is fun because Royal Dano is in Something Wicked This Way Comes, sort of warning everybody about what's coming. And he's also in Killer Klowns from Outer Space, is playing the old farmer that finds the Killer Clown spaceship. While everybody at Makeout Point had seen the comet land, the supposed comet or shooting star land nearby, Farmer Gene Green, played by Royal Dano, is the first one to make it to the spaceship, which presents itself as a circus. One of the craziest things about this movie that sort of gets glossed over in just, creepy clowns, is that the Kyoto brothers, the writers, directors, and puppeteers of the film, came up with this idea that there is an entire planet that developed in a way that would appear to be clowns to us, but it's just perfectly natural what they are. Like, think of any other alien movie that you've seen, and they've got like their alien outfits and dome heads or whatever, and that's them. But the universe is so big and wide that maybe there's one where they just evolved into clowns, the most hideous, disgusting clowns you've ever seen. And so everything is clown themed. Not only just for the gag of it, because this is supposedly what it is. So the spaceship looks like a circus tent. The reactor that powers the whole place is all pastels and candy colors, and they use weapons that look like, their outfits, and they have popcorn. Popcorn becomes monsters. They store people in cotton candy, and they're just a circus. It's like a whole planet of evil circus alien clowns, and they even have their parade. They going through the town, not to advertise their presence so much as just to clean up any last stragglers that they may not have gotten in the first assault on this town. And then it's funny, later in the film when they're trying to still stay sort of undercover, they move the spaceship to an actual fairground or amusement park so that they blend into everything. But since they're aliens, they're the most they are the strangest thing on this triple feature. Generally they're going to be the strangest thing on any triple feature, except next week. Killer Circuses, freaks, in which the people the Killer Circus was going after totally deserved what they got. Something Wicked This Way Comes, which just coming there to feed on psychic energy and or kill them. And Killer Clowns from Outer Space, where they've come to eat you, and they just happen to look like clowns. It's just a completely random coincidence. Ew, just awful. And I'll see you guys next week for our final installment of Killer Clowns Month.